He thought they had the perfect marriage, high school sweethearts, built a life together. She was talented, successful, and his best friend. But one random text preview changed everything. Behind the scenes, she'd been living a double life, an open relationship without telling him. She spent $30,000, 0 cents, on her secret lover's credit card, lied to everyone around her, and now she's begging to keep it all out of court. This is the story of how one man discovered the truth, picked up the pieces, and walked away with more than just heartbreak. He walked away free. Sophie is a successful hair and makeup artist who owns her own business, which mostly caters to weddings. A lot of her success is due to Marcus 40M, a wealthy local business owner who has sent her a lot of work and contacts. Ryan sees a message preview from Marcus to Sophie about how incredible the previous night was. Sophie had worked late. Ryan then finds more evidence of other meetings and discovers expensive jewelry and clothes which he had not purchased and written off as gifts from high-ending clients. Ryan also realizes Sophie does not love Marcus, but enjoys the lavish gifts and perks he provides. She never replies to Marcus's loving messages, reminds Marcus he should love his wife, and still treats Ryan as a loving best friend. Ryan is broken and will file for divorce. Sophie is unaware he knows about the affair. Update 1. Ryan asks Sophie CYA questions about their relationship, and she admits he has never abused her or cheated on her, and she wishes they made love more. They spend Christmas at her parents' house, and a gift arrives for Sophie from Santa, with a very expensive gold bracelet. Sophie is visibly annoyed and tells everyone it is from a bridal client. She later has an angry phone call while gesticulating wildly. On New Year's Eve, Sophie has to work late to deal with a bridezilla but promises to be back for their annual kiss at midnight tradition. She arrives at 1:30 a.m. and sobbing profusely. Ryan asks what happened and she says she is just sad because she missed their kiss. I asked her if she had anything else to tell me. She assured me that she didn't. I asked her point blank, then, if she cheated on me. She swore, up and down, that she didn't, and that she was upset because she missed the countdown because, since we have been married, we always kissed each other when the clock struck midnight. I gave her every opportunity to come clean and she still lied to me. Ryan begins searching for attorneys while Sophie is still unaware he knows. Update 2. Ryan finds new communications from Sophie, warning Marcus. Ryan suspects something. Sophie tells Marcus they need to stop and it is not fun anymore, and she doesn't want to lose her marriage. In towns like ours, people don't shout their sorrows. They keep them folded, neat and silent, like linens passed down through generations. That's how Ryan lived, with quiet dignity. But dignity can only cushion a fall for so long before it breaks too. Ryan had loved Sophie with the kind of devotion that didn't need declarations. They had built a life filled with ordinary moments, takeout on rainy days, hands brushing in the grocery store, Sunday morning pancakes. But beneath it all, something had shifted. And Ryan, once blind with trust, had begun to see. He saw Marcus's name on her phone. He saw the jewelry she never explained. He saw the lies that didn't blink when challenged. And then, he saw the truth, buried in emails, credit card statements, and messages to Chloe, Sophie's best friend, who had known all along. When his attorney told him to hire a private investigator, he did. When she said to begin therapy, he tried. But therapy could not stitch back what Sophie had cut so deliberately. So he pretended. He let Sophie plan for a family, watched her cook his favorite meals, and nodded when she kissed him goodnight. But inside, he was already gone. Valentine's Day came with roses. Not from Ryan. Marcus had left them at Sophie's salon, along with a letter so vulgar it peeled the paint off Ryan's calm. Sophie threw the letter away. The PI retrieved it. Shortly after, Sophie met Marcus in a parking lot. There were tears, accusations, a final goodbye, or what looked like one. It didn't matter. For Ryan, the goodbye had already happened. He started love-bombing her, not from hope, but from strategy. He wanted her to see the light she'd snuffed out. And then he had her served. The PI walked into the salon with a manila envelope. Sophie was laughing with coworkers, unaware her life was about to change. The PI handed her the envelope. "You've been served." She didn't take it. He let it drop. It landed with a slap, and just like that, the mask slipped. Ryan had already packed. He had written emails to Sophie's parents, Chloe's husband, friends who once toasted their wedding. He told them the truth, attached the evidence. He didn't ask them to take sides, only to know. He left her a note, his ring, and the lawyer's card, and then he disappeared. Sophie called, texted, pleaded. "We're supposed to work through this." But Ryan had worked through it, alone. The video of Sophie being served made its way back to him. He watched her freeze, her voice crack, her breath quicken, and still he felt nothing. Not triumph, not rage, just quiet. He called her father, told him simply, Sophie cheated, we're getting divorced. Her mother wept, apologized, she was the only one who did. Ryan cried too, for the first time in months. He pulled money from their accounts, removed cameras from the bedrooms, left the ones in common areas. On the advice of his lawyer, he moved out with 2 suitcases and the kind of heartbreak that leaves no visible wound. He blocked her family after sending the email, left no door open for denial. He included the graphic Valentine's card, the kiss in the parking lot, the voice memo where Sophie said he'd never hurt her. Then he left a final note. I hope your affair with John was worth our marriage. Contact my lawyer. If you're truly remorseful, make this divorce easy. I loved you. I could have forgiven anything except betrayal. Sophie called again. He silenced the phone, went to the bank, took what was his, and never looked back. Ryan didn't slam doors, he didn't scream, he just turned off the noise. After freezing his credit, canceling shared cards, and securing their joint accounts, he packed quietly, methodically, as if the act of leaving required precision over emotion. Everything about his last few days had become calculated, not cold, just necessary. Then came the messages. The texts pinged his phone like tiny explosions, some frantic, some pleading, some weaponized with guilt. He left them unread, waiting for the one thing his lawyer had advised him to collect, a confession. She gave it to him, sloppily, tearfully, emotionally. I know I messed up, but don't leave me like this. It was the truth, wrapped in excuses, then denial. She said she loved him, said it was a mistake, said Marcus didn't mean anything, said she never stopped loving Ryan. He left her on read. He used to cherish the way she said his name. Now he couldn't stomach the sight of her words blinking on his screen. Soon after, Sophie's parents came to the house. Her mother's voice cracked as she asked if he really hated her daughter now. He didn't, but he didn't love her anymore either. And that, he realized, was worse. Sophie's grief turned aggressive, accusations, tears, threats. Why would you involve my family, she screamed through text. You're trying to humiliate me. No, Ryan thought. I'm trying to survive. He blocked her number. That night, he couldn't sleep. He stared at the hotel ceiling, wondering if he'd done the right thing. The silence was heavy. His heart beat too loudly in his chest. He missed her, sometimes. Not the Sophie who betrayed him, but the girl who once fell asleep in his lap during thunderstorms. He wondered if that version had ever truly existed, or if it was just a dream he'd dressed up in memories. Days passed. Sophie emailed. She claimed Marcus had pressured her, saved her business, manipulated her. She said it had started once, then spiraled. She never loved him, she insisted. It was Ryan she always loved. He didn't reply. Ryan's friends brought him food, took him to game nights, played D&D like they were 13 again. It helped, a little, enough to forget the weight of everything for a few hours. Then came Amanda, Marcus's wife. Amanda and Ryan compared timelines, exchanged receipts, aligned stories. They discovered Marcus had left his family on New Year's Eve to spend the night with Sophie, at his house, in his marital bed. Ryan's hands trembled as he held Amanda's evidence, but his voice stayed calm. Later, he met with his mother-in-law. She brought him soup and tears, asked if there was any way back. The man Sophie married is gone, he said. The one left behind isn't someone she'd want. She nodded, quietly. Sophie, she said, hadn't eaten, barely drank water, stayed curled in her childhood bed like a ghost afraid of its own shadow. She needs therapy, Ryan said gently. Not me. The PI finally handed over the credit card records. $30,000, 0 cents, 9 months, hotels, gifts, jewelry, even items she'd given to Ryan, funded by her lover. The worst? A $175, 0 cents charge at a sex store. For Marcus. There was a gag order. Sophie's legal team hadn't seen it yet. Ryan's attorney smiled. Let's see how they react. At the next meeting, Sophie looked exhausted, hair tied too neatly, eyes rimmed red. She offered terms, 9 months of reconciliation before divorce. Ryan declined politely. Then came the question. What really happened on New Year's Eve? Sophie's lawyer passed over a written statement. She'd gone to the event. Marcus insisted she leave with him. Drove her to his home. They had unsatisfying sex. He FaceTimed his wife, performed a cruel power move to keep Sophie past midnight. She missed her kiss with Ryan. Again. Ryan read the statement without blinking. He felt nothing. No rage, no heartbreak, just distance. He'd crossed the river. There was no turning back. He excused himself, nodded to the lawyers, and left quietly, just as he'd always done. That's how it ended, not with a bang, but with a man refusing to listen to lies ever again. And in the end, silence was the only thing Sophie couldn't talk her way around. The room was too bright. The kind of bright that doesn't feel warm, just exposing. Like truth under a microscope. Ryan sat at the table, his lawyer to one side, a bottle of water in front of him he'd barely touched. Across from him, Sophie, her mother, and the lawyer who'd been doing her a favor, a family friend, until today. Sophie looked polished but pale, in a short black dress and a blazer that couldn't quite hide the way her hands trembled. Her smile tried to land but collapsed before it reached her eyes. Her mother, in soft pastels, reached out with a small wave, then pulled back, as if realizing she wasn't allowed that grace anymore. They began with paperwork. Legal terms. Offers. Formality. Ryan felt himself floating, the anti-anxiety meds smoothing the sharp corners of the day. Until Ms. Carter, the real steel in the room, pulled out the credit card records. The silence was instant. Sophie's lawyer blinked. "We weren't notified of—" "You are now," Ryan's lawyer replied, sliding a second folder forward. Sophie froze. Her eyes went wide. Her mother turned sharply to stare at her, lips parted in confusion. The numbers were read aloud like charges in a courtroom. Hotel stays, restaurant bills, jewelry, and then December purchases. "Did you buy Christmas gifts for your husband and family with the card Marcus paid for?" Sophie was visibly sweating now, eyes darting between faces, words lost in her throat. Her mother whispered, "Oh God," and left the room, hand clutched to her mouth. Then came the final question, the $175.00 charge at a local sex store. Sophie's lawyer sighed. This is no longer productive. But the damage had already bloomed in the silence. Sophie began to unravel. "I can explain. It's not what it looks like," she cried. "Is exactly what it looked like." Ryan didn't speak, just picked up the trash can and vomited. Quietly, controlled. Lawyer water and bile. Then he wiped his mouth, looked at the room and said, "Add that to our offer." His lawyer laughed. Really laughed. For the first time. Sophie's lawyer quit. Right then. Packed his papers and left with a pink face and tight jaw. Sophie sobbed. Asked to speak privately, Ryan didn't respond. He watched her melt under the weight of her own decisions. After she was ushered out, his lawyer gathered Sophie's business records and murmured, "Told you it'd be a short meeting." Ryan nodded, pointing at the trash can again. It's the most honest thing that happened in that room. Later he reviewed Sophie's written account of New Year's Eve. She claimed she was working late, that Marcus showed up, that she didn't want to go but went anyway, that they had miserable sex in his marital bed, that she missed the midnight kiss with Ryan because Marcus insisted on FaceTiming his wife. None of it softened anything. She said she didn't enjoy it, that somehow made it worse. Ryan sat in silence for a while after that, letting the truth harden like cooling metal. This was not a love story. This was an autopsy, and now it was time to bury the body. He stood, smoothed his jacket, and walked out of the conference room without a word. The only sound that remained was the echo of papers and the distant sob of someone who finally realized too late what silence really meant. Sometimes the worst betrayal isn't someone cheating on you, it's realizing they never valued what you gave in the first place. The guy didn't just lose a wife, he lost the illusion that love alone could fix dishonesty. But here's the truth. Betrayal isn't the end. Sometimes it's the beginning. The beginning of reclaiming your peace. The beginning of choosing yourself. And the beginning of walking away, not because you're bitter, but because you finally know what you deserve. And if this story hit home for you, if you've ever stayed longer than you should have, or loved someone who turned around and broke your trust, you're not alone. And you're not weak for walking away. Subscribe to this channel if you want more real, raw, emotional stories that remind us of our worth. Hit the bell so you never miss a moment. And if you've been through something similar, I'd love to hear it. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We tell these stories not just to relive the pain, but to remind each other, healing is messy, but so is growth. And both are worth it. See you in the next one.